13 years of restriction. Why Jungkook and Taehyung seek freedom in Europe. The shocking truth is no longer hidden. After 13 relentless years under the watchful eyes of staff, managers, and corporate systems, Jungkook and Taehyung of BTS are quietly but firmly pushing for freedom, and Europe has become the unexpected stage of their rebellion. Why? After more than a decade of global success, do two of the most admired figures in music feel suffocated? Why has the word freedom suddenly become central to their lives, even more important than fame, wealth, or prestige? These questions are now tearing through the fanbase, sparking speculation that the carefully polished image of BTS might have been hiding fractures long ignored. From their earliest teenage years, Jungkook and Taehyung were molded into performers, icons shaped to perfection, monitored at every turn, and expected to embody not only music, but also a lifestyle that left no room for error. Their smiles were demanded on cue, their exhaustion brushed aside, and their desires sacrificed for a machine larger than themselves. 13 years later, the cracks are no longer invisible. Both men, no longer boys, are reclaiming something stolen from them: autonomy. Europe, far from Seoul and the ever-present machinery of K-pop management, has become their testing ground, their silent stage for rediscovering life beyond control. Observers in Paris, London, and Berlin recently caught glimpses of the two together, not as idols under the spotlight, but as men searching for air outside the suffocating bubble of expectation. The images were strikingly different from polished press releases. Their casual walks, their moments of reflection, and their visible comfort in anonymity were enough to ignite conversations worldwide. Could this be a signal that both Jungkook and Taehyung are no longer willing to submit to the iron cage of their past 13 years? Or is Europe simply a temporary escape before returning to the same endless cycle? Behind the glitter of stadium tours and global awards lies a less glamorous reality. Insiders describe the years as a treadmill of rehearsals, recording sessions, photo shoots, and campaigns, all executed with military precision. While fans celebrated each comeback, the cost was often invisible: sleep deprivation, physical strain, emotional exhaustion. For Taehyung, whose artistry thrives on freedom and individuality, the system's rigidity was particularly suffocating. For Jungkook, whose entire youth was consumed by obedience to the industry's command, the longing for an ordinary life, walking late at night, eating without cameras, breathing without schedules, has grown undeniable. The European journey carries symbolic weight. Unlike the carefully curated appearances in South Korea, their presence in Europe feels almost rebellious, a deliberate act of separation. The continent offers them anonymity in the crowd, a chance to exist without being shadowed at every corner. But is it just anonymity they seek? Or is this the first act of a larger declaration, an unspoken message that the youngest members of BTS no longer want to live under a system of absolute control? The unease among ARMY is palpable. Many are beginning to connect the dots. Subtle remarks in interviews, the rare but raw confessions during concerts, and the quiet defiance shown in personal choices. Jungkook's tattoos, once criticized, can now be read as visible marks of self-ownership. Taehyung's pursuit of jazz, art, and photography outside mainstream pop becomes an equally powerful signal. Both have been leaving breadcrumbs, and Europe might be the moment those scattered hints converge into a full revelation. What shocks the most is not their desire for freedom, because any human being longs for it, but the length of time it took to reach this point. 13 years is not merely a timeline, it is a sentence. It is adolescence, youth, and early adulthood compressed into an endless performance. Fans are now asking, how much of Jungkook's laughter was genuine? How many of Taehyung's smiles were rehearsed? What truths were buried under the polished surface of global fame? As Europe becomes the backdrop of their newfound expression, the contrast with their past life intensifies. In Seoul, cameras never left their side. Staff monitored diets, sleep schedules, and even the way they spoke. In Europe, witnesses described them as almost unrecognizable, not in appearance, but in demeanor. Relaxed, reflective, yet undeniably restless, as though finally allowed to breathe, yet haunted by the weight of what they left behind. The question remains, will they bring this rebellion home, or will Europe remain only a temporary sanctuary? Analysts suggest that this pursuit of freedom is not only personal, but also symbolic of a generational shift within K-pop. Younger idols now see BTS as both inspiration and cautionary tale, proof that global success is achievable, but also evidence of the cost it exacts. Jungkook and Taehyung, by daring to step into Europe not as idols, but as men seeking their own path, may have just triggered a conversation that the industry has long silenced. What happens when the brightest stars no longer want to shine under the control of others? What happens when they demand the right to choose how, when, and if they shine at all? The silence from official channels only intensifies the tension. Without explanations, fans are left to decode every gesture, every word, every subtle act of independence. And perhaps that is exactly the point. Jungkook and Taehyung are no longer spelling out their rebellion. They are embodying it. The very act of walking freely in Europe after 13 years of being caged is itself a declaration. This moment is more than a travel anecdote. It is a rupture in the story of BTS, a signal that the bond between artistry and control is being rewritten. Europe is not just a destination. It is a symbol, a canvas where Jungkook and Taehyung are painting a new chapter with strokes of defiance, vulnerability, and hope. The world watches, the fans speculate, and the silence of the system grows louder with every unanswered question. One fact is undeniable. 13 years of restriction cannot be erased, but they can be defied. And in the quiet streets of Europe, Jungkook and Taehyung are proving that even the most carefully constructed cages eventually break under the weight of human longing. The search for freedom is no longer hidden. It is public, raw, and unstoppable. The world must now confront the truth. Jungkook and Taehyung are no longer content with survival inside a system. They want life. They want choice. They want freedom. And Europe, for the first time in 13 years, is giving it to them.